empathy for any of these women just to shed further light on their...
Hunky, that's a whole lot of hunky shit right there. It really is. I had to take notes on all this. Usually I could just keep up, but goddamn, Hunky. You're trying to debunk the Maid in the Shade of the Southern Belle? Huh? The reality, Hunky, is you dimmed the light. You didn't shed some light. And here at the Whiteabetes Foundation, I'm going to tell you, Hunky, stories like that, fabrications, causes the white coast's white illusions and permanent residency in the wildlife zone, Hunky. Yeah, so you are actually feeding a problem of Whiteabetes, and I'm over here trying to solve it. I'm trying to find a cure for you, Hunkus. And here you are. So let me clear some hunkus shit up for you, okay? And I'm glad you brought this book up because it does illustrate that white tea women were basically 50-50 accomplices with the hunky men in trafficking of black bodies. Consuming flesh. Okay. You left that part out, hunky. So you did acknowledge the husband being a planter. That also implies the elite class, right? And you're talking about she didn't spend a lot of time socializing. That was actually her fucking job, was to socialize, to create a picture of perfection for the patriarchy. Okay, Hunky? You're trying to paint some sort of hunky picture that she didn't have any choice. And she did. She had choices. She owned enslaved people. Okay? Now, one thing you did leave out, Hunky, is people that were in the planter class, not only did they have enslaved people, but some of them were actually required to have a white tea servant or indentured servant. You left that part out, Hunky, didn't you? You can find that information in that book. Okay, okay? Now, you did mention they handled like the internal finances and stuff, and that's probably likely true because hunky men, a lot of them were illiterate and failures in business, and a lot of times it was the hunky women that owned all the enslaved people. Okay, it was her property, and he had no say over that property. They were her property. Told you this, hunky. Why didn't you bring that up, huh? And you mean to tell me that the enslaved people that were charged with wiping these honky heifers' asses weren't trusted enough to do some of the cleaning? Honky, please, okay? You mentioned gardening, Honky. Come on now. That's outside work. Do you not understand class designations among the honkies when it comes to outside work and inside work? Tanning indicated outside work, indicated lower class of honky. They may have picked a couple flowers, you know, to hide their stank. But if they were outside, they had an umbrella, probably an enslaved person holding the umbrella for them, because that's how lazy these honky heifers were, okay? You mentioned dairy activities. That's an interesting way to talk about wet nursing that white tea women ran. That was their shit. Because when they socialized, because that was a thing, they marketed black women's breasts to feed their honky kids. And many of the black babies passed away due to starvation because the honky heifers didn't give a shit about the kids. And you mentioned salting pork, preserving fruits, mixing medicines, cattle making. The only time really those honkies did that is if they weren't in the planter class and or during the Civil War. Honky. You're picking and choosing, combining and remixing. I don't like that shit, okay? Now, you left out this stuff, Honky. This was a huge part of the elite planter honky heifers, okay? They were throwing that ass around in a circle on the plantation when their hubbies were gone, okay? Here's a court case talking about it, okay? We will be doing the book study today, starting at 12 o'clock over this to fill all of that in because you honkies weren't pure, okay? So you said the honky heifers were an intermediary between the enslaved people and her husband, who was the master. Well, that actually implies that she might have been in some way a protector, the good honky. And she wasn't. Okay, she was just as bad, if not more violent. All right? And in the book that you read, you would have known that. She seemed to take delight in torturing as a pastime. Okay? Like I said, you left out a lot of shit, Honky. Lots of shit. man tried to protect an enslaved little boy who was always getting beaten, tortured, him and his mom, by this one hunky heifer, and he wasn't able to protect him. He tried to sell him. And in retaliation, this hunky heifer took George's mom and tortured her. Horrible shit, hunky. Horrible shit you're leaving out with these hunky heifers, okay? And you mentioned the nettle weeds and the scars. It was hard to sell. Mutilations were harder, okay? I'm almost done. Sorry, hunky. I know this treatment's a little long. But this hunky accused two young black enslaved boys of doing something that they probably didn't, because that's your guys' history, is accusing people of shit, okay? Lying about it. Just so you can inflict violence. Y'all did that. Y'all set up starving people, put some candy on the dresser, just so that they would get that candy, and then you would be torturous, violent, mutilated them. Real sick shit, hunky. So these enslaved people weren't even hers, but she waited for the husband to leave and then beat them horribly. And they were so disturbed by some of this violence that they had to remove the reminder out of the home. They wouldn't be reminded of how violent and vicious and animalistic and bestial and just low down dirty honkies these bitches were. And lastly, the irony of this hunky shit that you put on here, you said that she did benefit greatly from slavery, but not more than her husband, the white man and stuff. It was the white team man, let me see, put the system in place and then put her in her place. Real quick, hunky, who raised those hunky boys to be the creators of the system? Don't forget, husbands were gone a lot. Who was put in charge of those little hunky boys? Huh? Hunky heifers. They raised those boys to put the system in place and then putting her in her place. Isn't that some sick shit, hunky? You're welcome. Don't forget today, 12 o'clock, we're going to fill in a lot of the hunky shit that you left out.